We all saw it. Joe Biden's State of the Union address. And it wasn't just full of lies. That was to be expected. But it was full of intentional ignorance. Joe Biden intentionally ignored what Americans are facing on a day-to-day basis. Inflation, an open border with drugs streaming across our border, killing our young people while the cartels get rich. You've got woke schools indoctrinating our children, teaching them that racism is okay as long as it is directed at people who have white skin. In fact, I wonder how the average American parent felt last night or earlier in the week when they heard Joe Biden express support for the populist mantra that we need to raise teacher pay. I mean, that's all well and good, but I wonder how many Americans thought to themselves, but a lot of these teachers are trying to convince my child that they aren't the gender they were born with. That, in fact, that it can be changed, which, of course, is not true. And speaking of populism, Democrats constantly stood up to applaud and support what Joe Biden was saying. But halfway through the speech, it occurred to me that many of the things that Joe Biden was saying, Joe Biden's messages, sounded an awful lot like President-in-exile Donald Trump. Joe Biden attempted to rebrand America First last night to cover up his lies, and I will be honest, it made me quite depressed. That is until Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders had her say. And what a breath of fresh air she was. I mean, during Biden's speech, I don't know about you, but I felt the weight of the lies. It hit like a ton of bricks. Our government has built a house of lies. It operates in a completely different reality than normal Americans. And that's why Sarah's speech last night was so important. To call it a stark contrast is an understatement and doesn't do it justice. Her speech snapped the nation out of a trance we were locked in for 2 hours plus. Arkansas, can you believe it? Finally, we have a chief executive whose general opinions actually reflect the people who live here in Arkansas. And that is something to be celebrated. What a day and what a speech. And I knew exactly what I was going to do on the show on the opening segment when I heard it. We're going to go over what she said. Because in light of the Grammys and the satanic devil worship that was on display, you even had a tweet where CBS referenced, and it's now deleted tweet, where CBS said, we're excited to worship with you in reference to the upcoming, when Sam Smith tweeted out, we've got a great show, which of course was all this, simulated hellscape. It's the dividing lines can't get any more stark for those that want to see, for those who are not blind. Let's get to the first clip. Again, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the rebuttal to Joe Biden's speech the other night, which was, again, full of lies. Let's take a listen.
Biden and I don't have a lot in common. I'm for freedom. He's for government control. At 40, I'm the youngest governor in the country. And at 80, he's the oldest president in American history. I'm the first woman to lead my state. And he's the first man to surrender his presidency to a woke mob that can't even tell you what a woman is.
That was really powerful. I'm the first woman governor. I'm the first woman to lead my state. But we've got a woke mob that doesn't even know what a woman is. I mean, you got somebody who's sitting on the Supreme Court of the United States who says, I'm not a biologist, when asked to define what a woman is. Isn't it interesting that we don't even know what a woman is anymore? That at least that's what's confessed at the national level. It's fascinating if you look at where we've been since '74. You give women the right to murder their children with no recourse, and now we don't even know what a woman is anymore. It's certainly very interesting. Now, next up we have the next clip. Let's give this one a listen.
And the president's refusal to stand up to China, our most formidable adversary, is dangerous and unacceptable. President Biden is unwilling to defend our border, defend our skies, and defend our people. He is simply unfit to serve as commander-in-chief.
I mean, this was good. It was a reminder because in Joe Biden's speech, the contrast, he was all grins. He was trying to make jokes. He was trying to come off again. It was like a rebranded MAGA rally. And yet Sarah Huckabee Sanders comes with the facts and actually says, no, this guy's unfit for office. And that there's a lot in there, right? You've got what's going on with the Hunter Biden laptop. You've got being compromised by China, being compromised in the Ukraine, and all of that other stuff. But generally speaking, and this doesn't even bring up the mental fitness or the lack of mental clarity that's on display most every day. The shuffling of the feet, the getting lost in a background somewhere, doesn't even begin. But yes, he is unfit. Sarah Huckabee Sanders reminding us of this truth. Now we have this next clip. Let's listen.
In the radical left's America, Washington taxes you and lights your hard-earned money on fire. But you get crushed with high gas prices, empty grocery shelves, and our children are taught to hate one another on account of their race, but not to love one another or our great country.
So this was a good reminder of just how out of touch. I mentioned in the opening monologue how there is essentially a total disconnect to complete, reality. And that was what was so heavy, is to see all of the pomp and the circumstance and just how fake it all is. And this really kind of goes for both sides, but it always just seems so fake. We've got our guests in the gallery and everything is so planned and carefully. But this time it just felt so different, because the reality is just the polar opposite of what I believe in and I feel. And you look around the people in the room and and you just wonder that this isn't true. I mean, there is right now the Democratic Party stands for wokeness, and they are clearly aware that this is a disaster electorally. If we even want to talk about how things electorally, but they clearly know that that they have a huge weakness when it comes to working blue collar individuals. That the Democrat Party is lost because they are no longer normal. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders mentions that, as well as idols, which that was, to me, my favorite part. And I don't know if this one may, in fact, be that clip. Let's take a listen.
And while you reap the consequences of their failures, the Biden administration seems more interested in woke fantasies than the hard reality Americans face every day. Most Americans simply want to live their lives in freedom and peace. But we are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never wanted to fight. Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols, all while big government colludes with big tech to strip away the most American thing there is, your freedom of speech.
Exactly.
That's not normal.
That was my favorite part. As a matter of fact, I think the language here was used intentionally, rituals, idols, because I think all of us saw this spectacle, at the Grammys. And so, this is totally appropriate. People were outraged by it. Now, this stuff's been going on in plain sight for a long time, okay? It's been going on in plain sight for a very long time, so I don't want you to forget that. But they are getting more bold. They are getting more brazen. I mean, literally, this was what passes for entertainment, which is it's ritualistic devil worship. That's what this is. This is not. So anyway, they can justify it all they want. Well, this is artistic performance. Well, coming up here, we're going to be talking with Senator Dan Sullivan. That's what these libraries are doing. Well, they're justifying this as some sort of neutral worldview. We have a neutral worldview. Pay no attention to us. Anything goes. Anything goes. Sexualization of kids at libraries, anything goes. So everybody saw that, and so let's actually run that clip back, shall we? Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Let's run this back.
Government colludes with big tech, and while you reap the consequences of their failures, the Biden administration seems more interested in woke fantasies than the hard reality Americans face every day. Most Americans simply want to live their lives in freedom and peace. But we are under attack in a left-wing culture war we didn't start and never wanted to fight. Every day we are told we must partake in their rituals, salute their flags, and worship their false idols, all while big government colludes with big tech to strip away the most American thing there is, your freedom of speech.
Exactly. Exactly. And here's the last clip that I have for you today.
Whether Joe Biden believes this madness or is simply too weak to resist it, his administration has been completely hijacked by the radical left. The dividing line in America is no longer between right or left. The choice is between normal or crazy. It's time for a new generation of Republican leadership. Upon taking office just a few weeks ago, I signed executive orders to ban CRT, racism, and indoctrination in our schools, eliminate the use of derogatory term Latinx in our government, repealed COVID orders, and said never again to authoritarian mandates and shutdowns.
Again, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the speech, what a breath of fresh air that was the other night after all of the lies, all of the just, again, intentional ignorance by the Democrat Party, denying who they really are, denying what they really stand for. And what a day for Arkansas, where we have a governor who is saying publicly what most of us actually believe. And that, to me, is something to be celebrated. It's something to also be thankful for, because I'll be honest, I didn't ever think it would actually happen. So forgive me for taking the black pill.